you are likely investing hundreds of dollars into appointments that are not qualified for what it is that you're selling. Let's face it. If you are meeting or wasting time with prospects who are never going to buy from you, why are you spending money to book them on your calendar? In this training, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to do to make sure that you're booking more qualified appointments with ready-to-buy prospects. This training is going to uncover what influences your lead quality, how to build a lead qualification matrix so you actually know what criteria you need to qualify your prospects on, the 4-step framework that we follow to make sure that we're maximizing our cost per appointment, but ultimately our cost per pitch, which means we are meeting with qualified people that our sales team can sell. And lastly, we're going to go through how to track your lead quality score so you're able to iterate your funnel and the performance to get the maximum quality at the absolute lowest price. With that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so first, what influences your lead quality? Lead quality can make and break your sales process, okay? Without having the systems, the processes, all those things in place, then you're ultimately going to be wasting countless ad dollars. So what we want to do is make sure that you're building out qualification systems and processes that are going to increase your lead quality. To do that, we need to understand the two different types of leads. First and foremost, you have MQLs. MQLs are marketing qualified prospects. And that essentially means that someone has shown interest in what it is that you are advertising, you're marketing, you're communicating, but they're not yet ready for a sale. A sales qualified prospect, on the other hand, is someone who meets BANT requirements. Now, BANT requirements ultimately follow the BANT acronym or framework: budget, the ability or authority to make the decision, a need for a problem that you solve, and a timeline in which they intend to move forward with a solution. Your lead qualification systems ultimately want to be focusing on converting MQLs into SQLs. So an example of an MQL would be if you had a lead magnet that you are running Facebook ads to. And that lead magnet could be something like this, a lead quality training. And in that lead magnet, someone's saying, hey, I have this problem. And they have interest in solving that problem. Yet they have not shown intent into working with us or becoming a client of ours. Therefore, we need to have these systems on the back end to take them from an MQL to an SQL. Now you can do that through applications, your nurtures, setter follow-ups, etc. And that's a topic for another time. However, in the qualification process, you're ultimately making sure that sales qualified prospects, they have a need, the ability to make a decision, the budget to work with you, and a timeline to move forward with the sale. So with that, we're going to be walking through the frameworks that we use to make sure that, one, our sales qualified prospects are actually BANT qualified, and two, we are optimizing our funnel to get the maximum throughput from MQL to SQL. We'll go ahead and cover that next. The two types of appointments that you are going to be able to book throughout your process is self-booked appointments, which typically account for 60 to 70% of your sales appointments, depending on your industry. Some industries that could be significantly lower, and your client acquisition channels could essentially drive a higher or a lower rate. For instance, outbound prospecting is going to be more setter booked, whereas Facebook ads, TikTok ads are going to be more self-booked. The remainder of those appointments are made up by the setter or sales team processes following up to book your appointments. Now that you understand the different influences of lead quality and the difference between an MQL, an SQL, and BANT, what we can do is start building out our lead qualification criteria. Now we do this at Conversionly through a lead quality matrix or a lead qualification matrix. That matrix is ultimately designed by having an identifier of your priority questions and then prioritizing them based on how much influence that question has on the quality of the lead, giving a score based on the response and ranking the responses as green, yellow, or red. Green being a great answer, the ideal candidate profile or ideal customer profile. Yellow means they're not good, not bad, we can work with them. Red meaning, this is less than ideal or we can't work with them. Okay, so in this process, Your lead qualification matrix is ultimately how you define what a sales qualified lead is. This will likely involve over time, and as you grow your business, you scale up and you're trying to put more friction into your funnel to remove more prospects from your calendar, you're ultimately probably going to add in more questions or more criteria that a prospect needs to meet to be able to work with you. Alternatively, your criteria could decrease because you add new product or service lines, which open up your array of opportunity to sell someone as they come through your funnel. Regardless of which, to build your qualification matrix, we ultimately want to focus on creating a stoplight. A stoplight, if you think about driving in a vehicle in the United States anyway, you have green lights, yellow lights, and red lights. Red lights mean stop. Yellow means proceed with caution, and green means continue on forward. Essentially, our qualification matrix is designed is whenever you have a stoplight or a red light, if you will, that requires manual BANT qualification to approve that prospect. Some prospecting methods and qualification methods may not even need further communication to identify it's just not a good fit. In other instances, you can have setters or sales coordinators follow up with those prospects and then have an additional discussion to see if, hey, maybe whatever it is that was disqualifying them is something that can be overcome. If it can't, remove them from your opportunities because they're no longer a viable opportunity. They are ultimately a bad fit, and move forward. If they are or have the potential to overcome those, then you can upgrade them to a yellow rating and move them into your sales calendar. Yellow ratings are essentially, they're qualified, they meet our bare minimum standards, and we're going to want to require sales framing and discovery to make sure this prospect actually is a good fit and worthy of our time to proceed with meeting with them. A green is a qualified ideal customer profile, meaning they are the target avatar that we are trying to reach, and they become our highest priority. Now, the lead qualification matrix, as you look at it, it can be a little bit convoluted at first when you see this. But over on the left-hand column, you can see we have a priority in green, yellow, and red. Green means this is the highest priority questions. These questions are going to influence whether or not we can work somebody. If we have a red response, we want to disqualify these people automatically. Yellow means that it's medium priority. It's not going to directly disqualify somebody per se, but it does decrease the score and the quality of the prospect as they move forward. Red is low priority. They're nice to have questions. They're not need to haves, and they're ultimately not going to make or break a prospect. Those have the lowest scores. Now, inside of this, every question can have a green, yellow, or red answer. Not all cases are they going to have all three, but they will have at least two of those answers. For instance, if you have a yes or no question, it's green and red. No, red, green, yes. Okay. For instance, for Conversionly, our qualification criteria, what industry are you in? Our top three industries that we work in are coaches, consultants, and agencies. Those have the best customer journey in working with us. They have typically the fastest return on investment, and it ultimately creates the best experience for everybody involved. Yellow prospects are prospects that would include like home service companies, staffing and recruitment companies, health and wellness, tax and finance, general industries that we can work in. We have success with them, but maybe their profit margins aren't as good. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to get them launched. Maybe they're not familiar with modern marketing tactics, and it just creates a little bit more tension in the customer journey. That's why we score these folks as yellow. Red would be industries we know we cannot work in. For instance, working with insurance agents, in most cases at Conversionly, is not a good fit unless you're selling things like annuities, life insurance, or high commission, high ROI products and services that the agent can then see a bigger return when it comes to working with us. It's not that we can't get results, but the price tag to work with us in comparison to the low commission rates that they get per sale just doesn't make sense. Now we have, what is your current monthly revenue? Where does that fall? This is our budget question, okay? The first question is, do you fit within our candidate profiles? Meaning, do you have a need? Do you have the ability to make the decision to work with us, etc.? The budget question, what is your current monthly revenue? This has a direct influence on budget, and so does the second question. Do you have the ability to invest $3,000 a month into ad spend? If not, probably not a good fit to work with us, okay? So that gives us a green or a red answer. Now you can see all of these answers have scores. So based on the answer that somebody gives you, you're gonna apply a score for them. For instance, if you're a coach, consultant, or an agency, then we're gonna give you a score of 50, okay? If you're home services, we're gonna give you a 25, and if you're insurance or other, we're gonna give you a 5. For our medium priority, we decrease our scores to 35, 15, and 3. And then for low priority questions, we drop it down to 20, 8, and 1. And you see some typos here. That's just something I didn't fix. With that said, you're gonna have different questions and answers for your business. So when you're building out your lead qualification matrix, what you wanna do on the left-hand side is identify the questions. What are high priority? What has an influence but won't make or break a prospect? And what's low priority that's a nice to have but not a need to have? In the instance, you're gonna rate them by high, medium, or low priority based on those specifications. Then from there, you're gonna set your answers. What are the possible answers that somebody could give you? In most instances, you don't wanna have open-ended questions. When you have open-ended questions, then it creates a issue in communication dialogue. Maybe you were expecting some type of answer, but the prospect didn't understand what it was that you're actually looking for, okay? Or it could just be natural friction within the application process that makes it more difficult for that prospect to answer. So it is better to have fixed answers or options such as drop-downs, radio buttons, checklists, etc., that give your prospect the ability to select an answer. So for instance, with Conversionly, we have radio button options for industries. We have radio button options for revenue. We have radio button options for yes or no questions. We have what stage are you at in business? Radio button. What's your biggest problems that you desperately want to solve? This is a checkbox. This can be multiple answers. What client acquisition strategies are you currently using? This is, again, a checkbox. It could be multiple answers. And then what do you charge for what you sell? Pick the answer that best applies, okay? And this is going to then be a radio button. So from all of these answers and the corresponding scores, we will then tally those up to create a score. A green score means this is the ideal prospect we want to get, okay? For that, any scores that have 175 or higher in total score is going to be a green. Anyone that's 125 to 175 is going to be yellow, and anyone that is less than 125 is going to be a red prospect, okay? We also have some rules down here. Any high priority question, meaning the top 3 questions, that has a red or a 5 score, so red is the score, it's the color score, 5 is the actual numerical score for this prospect or for this response. Anyone that has a red or a 5 response for a high priority question, it is an automatic disqualification, meaning any of these responses to these 3 questions, automatic DQ, okay? Anyone that does not yet have a business, automatic DQ. That is in our medium priority questions. Now, the reason we add that in our medium priority questions, this could go either way. We do work with a lot of prospects that don't yet have a business or answer doesn't have a business yet. However, they're a serial entrepreneur where they've had 5 other businesses that they've scaled up, they've sold, but they're launching a new product and they want to shortcut the path because they don't have the time, desire, or they have the money to be able to hire an expert company like ours to take care of that problem for them. So this can be a good answer, medium priority, that we don't automatically disqualify on. But based off our current calendar volume, we do automatically disqualify that. And then we have our setters follow up to do additional qualification to meet the criteria of getting on our sales team's calendar. Now, all red scores, meaning everything less than a 125, is an automatic disqualification. Automatic disqualification requires manual BANT qualification to proceed. That's essentially saying someone on our sales team needs to get on the phone or in conversation with this prospect and manually qualify them for what it is that we're selling. Now, with this lead qualification matrix, you may not have yellow responses. A lot of your answers could just be red or green situations, right? Yes, no questions. Some businesses might not have 7, 8, 9, 11 different qualification questions. If you are just now in your client acquisition journey and you're only spending $5,000 to $10,000 in ad spend and you're not fully booked out on your sales calendar, then I don't recommend having this many questions. That's too much friction into a process when you still have bandwidth to take more meetings. You want to start adding that friction, which we'll cover in the 4 stages of optimizing your lead quality, to as you are trying to decrease the volume of appointments that you're meeting with. Now, there are local businesses that doesn't have specific requirements outside of, do you own a home? Yes or no, right? For others, you're going to have all 3. You'll have yellow, red, green, etc. responses. So with a full Stoplight qualification matrix, you're typically going to have qualification questions that score relative to the lead quality. You then want to rank the score based on the answers provided. What qualifies someone for a marketing agency that specializes in working with medical practices? They own a medical practice, their annual revenue is above $250,000, and they need more sales opportunities. That means they have a need, they have the financial ability to work with us, and they fit our target customer profile. Okay? For the Stoplight, a lead could potentially still be qualified if they meet conditions 1 and 3, but fall a little under the revenue benchmark. In most instances, this is a generalized qualifier. They could have the money and savings to work with you. If you make a generalization that, hey, if you have less than $250,000, you're not a good fit to work with us, may not be a good qualifier. However, I would want to flag those prospects and make sure that we are doing manual BANT to qualify them and move them forward. With your lead qualification matrix, you want to identify your must-haves and your nice-haves. With that said, high priority and medium priority for your must-have questions. High priority means a red answer is an automatic disqualifier. Okay? To get started, you need to identify what are those questions that your prospect must answer to identify as your ideal customer profile, your ICP or target avatar. Okay? Make your questions multiple choice and create combinations of answers that they could typically fall into within that category. This will allow you to automatically disqualify prospects based off survey submissions. And if you're using a form submission within your calendar, then that will give you the ability to use something like GPT to then disqualify after the appointment's booked, cancel it based off the score that GPT provides. And if you are within our LTO program of our mini series on lead quality training, we're actually going to give you our Albert AI GPT grading system where you can send a prompt, automatically grade the lead qualification matrix, generate a response, and then fire an automation respectively based off how they score. Only use questions that actually qualify someone to work with you, okay? Rank the answers to your questions red, yellow, and green, and set your scoring standards and rules. The one thing I do want to note in here is our scores are 175 plus is green. That's because we have several questions. If you only have 3 questions in here, there's no possible way to score as a 175. So you are going to want to make sure you adjust these numbers based off the volume of questions you have. And then take previous applications or previous prospects that you've met with that you personally know, this was a good one, this is a bad one, this is a good one, this is a bad one, and create answers for yourself to see where would this person have scored, okay? That will help you make sure and validate that your scores are actually reflective of whether or not this prospect is someone that you would or would not work with, and how you would score them manually if you had the chance, red, yellow, or green. Okay. So that is ultimately how to build your lead qualification matrix. This download has been sent to your email if you opted in for the lead qualification training, and you can get this. If you have not opted in, click the link down below. You can get access to all these assets that we're covering in this video, and that will show you exactly how to optimize and build your lead qualification matrix. Next, we're going to jump into the 4-step framework on how to improve your lead quality and actually take actionable steps that are going to let you improve your lead quality score and ultimately meet with better prospect. In the first part, we have pre-optimization. This means you do these things before you mess with your funnel. Okay. The first thing, set up your lead qualification matrix, which we just went through. You want to also incorporate sales team feedback loops. Now, at the end of this, we'll actually show you how we track our lead quality scores, and part of that is through sales team feedback loops. So you can take some of those pieces and implement it within your funnel. With that said, the first step in our optimization process is the traffic that we are bringing into our funnel. Now, that is actually broken up into 2 primary categories. One, making sure we are generating the right traffic, right? We are targeting people that fit within the appropriate affinity or intent that would make sense for our target audience. And the second is making sure you have message market match, meaning not actually your traffic source, but how are you communicating with your traffic? An example of this would ultimately be, let's say you are an HVAC company and you are running ads for an AC tune-up. You're not going to do AC tune-ups for people who are renting an apartment. You're probably not going to do AC tune-ups for people who are renting homes. Now, on the other hand, you're going to be working with homeowners. So when you're writing your copy, you're creating your creative, you are ultimately communicating to the homeowner. So your copywriting needs to pre-qualify the target audience that you're trying to bring into your funnel. If you're using paid advertising is only able to go so granular with the actual targeting parameters in which you are able to run your traffic from. For instance, on Google, you can get higher intent traffic by using keyword search terms. However, a lot of times you could get people that would be looking for HVAC jobs, and they could be searching HVAC companies. If your keyword targeting is not dialed in and you don't have negative keywords, then you're likely going to bring people in that are not a good fit. So you can use terminology or copy, if you will, to make sure you have a message that matches the market segment that you're trying to acquire the traffic from. This is the number one most fundamental thing that you can do in your funnel without changing anything in terms of tech stack to make sure you're bringing in a higher quality prospect. If you're running a spray and pray wide net method, then it's no wonder you're on the calendar with people who are not a good fit. Now, traffic alone is only going to get you so far. You can target people, you can provide the right copy, but let's face it, we're dealing with humans, and some humans just miss the cue. So that's where we bring in our funnel friction. In funnel friction phases, we are breaking this into essentially a 5-phase process where we're inducing additional friction within our funnel to optimize for quality. Now, when you are, let's say you're launching a new offer or you're a new business and you have no sales appointments, you're ultimately going to have the least amount of friction as possible. You want to take the lead immediately to an appointment. You don't want to make them jump through hoops or steps to book that appointment. So you could run an ad directly to a calendar. Now, phase 2 of that, you're ultimately going to ingrain some type of opt-in mechanism in which they have to give you contact information before they book an appointment. This will make sure that you're able to acquire the lead, make them jump through a little bit of steps, and then book the appointment. After that, you're going to want to start inducing maybe a sales application page or a application within your calendar or a page like a VSL page that then farther uses copywriting to help people self-qualify or disqualify themselves from your process. In your friction, you want to focus on quantity before quality. Now, if you're in this training, you likely are already meeting with people. You already have a quality issue. Therefore, you're likely going to be in a phase 3 through 5 framework in which you're inducing an application within your funnel. Now, having an application alone is only going to get you so far. For instance, if you have a calendar that has application questions within it, but regardless of how they answer, they can still book the appointment, then you need to have a back-end process that removes the people who are not qualified. We can do this in 2 formats. One is manual, and that's where you can have a sales coordinator go through, grade the application responses, and then remove the ones that are not good fits. On the other hand, you can use something like the Albert AI GPT prompt that can then send their application questions over to ChatGPT, have ChatGPT analyze the responses based off your lead qualification matrix, and then cancel the appointments automatically via marketing automation tools like High Level or Zapier or Make to remove that prospect from your calendar. With those steps in mind, you could then do an application process in which the prospect has to fill out an application before they ever see your calendar. This gives you the ability to remove people from the funnel before they ever see the calendar, in which disqualified prospects are not able to book appointments with your team. Now, you can take this in 2 approaches. One, if somebody fills out an application and they're not qualified, if based off your BANT or your lead qualification matrix, that person's never going to be qualified regardless of what manual follow-up you do, then you just send them to a thank you page. Thanks for filling out your application. Unfortunately, at this time, it looks like we're not a good fit. If you believe this is an error, please contact us here. Okay. If there is potential where disqualified people could ultimately get on your sales team's calendar and close, then you could have a discovery calendar that is booked with a sales appointment setter, a sales coordinator, or a lower end sales rep that can pre-qualify that prospect before meeting with your closing team. Alternatively, you want to make sure that everybody who's qualified then gets redirected to your calendar. This gives you the ability to make sure that everybody who's booking an appointment has met our bare minimum qualifications before booking the appointment. Now, with using the system like the Albert AI GPT prompts, you're able to then take prospects, give them a score, and then take note of that score and share that information with your sales team. One caveat to note when it comes to funnel friction: you want to do this in iterations and steps and track your KPIs and your performance throughout the funnel and the tests that you're running to make sure you're not putting in too much friction all at once, tanking your KPIs, and you have no clue what variable is influencing an increase in your KPIs. Naturally, with friction should come higher costs. It's why Google search is always a higher cost per acquisition versus interruption-based platforms like TikTok and Facebook, because people have a higher search intent when it comes to Google search, meaning they are searching for your solution. Whereas Facebook, they're looking at their friend's kid and making funny jokes or memes about them and then sending them to their friends in text messages. Just kidding, I don't do that, and neither should you. With that said, though, on Facebook and TikTok, people aren't looking for you. You are interrupting their daily scheduled program to deliver your message. Therefore, they have lower intent. That's why they are a cheaper acquisition versus search. Now, when you are inducing friction, you have to do it iteratively, step by step. That way you can test the variable or the friction piece that you were incorporating within your funnel to measure, how did this influence my KPIs? In the first iterations of testing, it's always probably going to send you close to, if not over, your KPI. However, through for additional optimizations, the way you word questions, the order in which you put your application questions, the steps you put into your funnel, the quality of the content that goes within it, etc., you can bring that KPI back down and continue optimizing. One of the biggest benefits of having qualification within your funnel is you are training your pixel on what is a good event and not a bad event. Meaning, if you are booking appointments with just any Joe Schmo, then you're training the pixel as, I don't care who comes through the funnel, I just want them to book an appointment. Whereas if you're training the pixel on somebody who is qualified, then the pixel is learning what criteria makes this person a scheduled event. That sums up funnel friction. Next, we get into sales qualification. Now, this is the back-end process in which your sales team, setters, sales coordinators, etc., are going through and qualifying prospects for you. Now, they're going to follow essentially a BAMP process, just like your lead qualification matrix outlined, and they can do this in multiple formats. 1, they could do it via phone calls. 2, they could do it via text messages. And 3, they could do it via email, social, whatever chat medium. They're able to establish a relationship with the prospect to then qualify them and convert them into an appointment. One of the big things that we do at Conversionly with our lead to close system is taking leads and converting them into booked appointments. A big portion of that is our engage, qualify, and convert process, where we nurture leads that have opted in through our funnel, marketing qualified leads, and then we then take them to a sales qualified lead through our engage, qualify, and convert process. With that, that is where sales qualification ties in. It's where our setters are able to follow up with our prospects, ask them a series of questions, and identify, are they a good fit for what we're selling? Lastly, they can leverage that discussion and transition the relationship over to social proof, case studies, etc., that can increase the temperature of a prospect from maybe a warm prospect to a flaming red hot prospect, because you're able to deliver more content to the prospect and hit closer to the 7-hour rule, which is ultimately defining that anytime you sell something that is high ticket, typically over $50, someone's going to invest pretty close to 7 hours of research on your business or that product, that solution, etc., before they make a buying decision. By utilizing your qualification process with your setters to share things like case studies, value-driven content, social proof, whatever it may be, you can increase that prospect's awareness on your business, making them even more product aware, meaning they are going to be closer to the actual sale. The sales qualification process, you're going to want to follow a discovery call script format. Now, in your discovery call script format, you are ultimately training your setters or sales coordinators, whoever's going to be taking this task in operation, to make sure that they are hitting on all the BAMP variables. They're not just going through the motions, they're guiding that discussion in correlation to the prospect themselves, and then making sure they stand firm and steadfast on the minimum criteria. Don't just accept anybody. Now, when we get into our feedback loops, that gives you a great way to identify, how good is my setter at actually setting appointments? Are they letting bad people get through? This will be a tattletale and identify where are things going wrong. That covers stage 3 with sales qualification. Now we get into stage 4. This is something that we call indoctrination. Now, unfortunately, when Justin and I were scaling Conversionly, we had a great funnel. We were overloaded with appointments. However, we were seeing our sales window was ultimately anywhere between 25 to 45 days from the initial meeting that a prospect would actually close and work with us. So we want to ultimately shorten that sales window and get prospects going as quickly as possible. The longer it takes in that sales conversion process, the colder that prospect's going to become, which ultimately leads to a decrease in your close rates. So we developed our indoctrination process, and we do this in multiple formats. In simplicity, we incorporate a thank you page video. That thank you page video for us is an hour-long video that breaks down everything that prospect needs to know to be 100% product aware on what it is we're selling, what we're doing, who we do it for, why it's important, the problems we solve, how we solve that problem, and comparing us versus the other solutions that are out there. Now, any of you that say, I don't have competitors, I'm the only one that does this, that's not true. Even Uber, being the first ride-sharing platform out there, still had competitors because there was other transportation options, such as public transit, taxis, etc. You could walk, you could ride a bike. Those are all competition. They're alternatives that someone can use. For us, there's coaches that we compete with. There's marketing agencies that we compete with. There's internal marketing teams that we compete with. And the self-interest of DIYers. Okay. So all of that is competition for us because those are an alternative means to solve the problem. Doesn't mean you're going to get the same outcome, but they all lead to the same ideal transformation, whether or not they can deliver it or not. So in our breakdown, we want to cover all of that information because we want to make sure before that prospect gets on a sales call with our team, they are 100% product aware. If you are not familiar with the 5 stages of market awareness, then I highly recommend you check this out. It was developed by Eugene Schwartz in Breakthrough Advertising. But at a surface level understanding, you have someone who is not aware. That's stage 1. They're not aware of the problem. They don't know they have a problem. They're just floating on through life and have no worries. Number 2, stage 2, is someone who is problem aware. I have this problem. I don't know how to fix it. Then you have stage 3, solution awareness. I have this problem. I am aware of what solutions exist in the market, but I haven't decided what service or product I'm going to purchase to actually solve that problem. Then you have product awareness. Product awareness, stage 4, is where someone knows the solutions and they know the products that are available to them to solve that problem. Products could be individual products, such as an iPhone, as a way to communicate with one another, or services that allow you to communicate. For instance, when you buy a new cell phone, not only are you buying a physical product, you're also buying a service, which is the telephone provider. So both of those tie into product awareness. The last stage, stage 5, is most aware, and that is the objective of our sales team. We want to then, at that point, they know our product, they know what we do. Now they just need to identify the specifics on how does it apply to them, what are the terms, what objections do we need to handle. And that is when you can then use your sales team to take a prospect to most aware. And that is how you achieve the status of ready to buy prospects within your pipeline. The last step, and realistically, probably one of the first steps you want to implement, is tracking your lead quality. This is something that's going to allow you to measure, are the actions and steps that I'm taking actually positively impacting our quality or negatively impacting our quality, or not doing anything for our quality, just raising our prices. This is a way that you are able to identify what's influencing that lead quality, what's influencing our KPIs, and trying to find the balance that works best for your cost per acquisition, the only KPI that really truly matters when it comes to your client acquisition systems. Now, as we get into this, the most fundamental metric that you have, and you should readily have this available right now to measure your lead quality, is your pitch rate. Now, pitch rate is ultimately the rate or percentage of sales pitches your sales team made compared to the number of calls they actually took. So to frame this, if your sales process, regardless of a 1 call, 2 call, 27,000 calls, your sales process should ultimately go in the format of discovery, where you are discovering the problems, talking about how it affects them, identifying their pains, their goals, their needs, their wants, their desires, etc. Then you have your pitch. Pitch is where you then transition from discovery to pitching them on the solution, your product, for their problems. Then you have an offer. An offer is when you send them a price, you tell them what the price is, you send them an agreement, etc. You have a proposal out to them. And lastly, you have a close. A pitch is not giving them the price. It's selling them on the solution. Okay? Now, you never pitch someone if they're not a good fit because they don't meet one of the 4 BANT qualifications. You discover that during the discovery process. So if you are following that process within your sales framework, then you can say, if I pitch someone, that means they're qualified. So if I want to get a true measure of my lead quality, just based off the current data that I already have, how many calls did we take? How many pitches did we make? Divide your pitches by the calls you took, and you have your pitch rate. A standard benchmark for high ticket sales is you want to see a pitch rate around 60%. That means your marketing efforts and your sales qualification processes are booking appointments where at least 60% of your prospects are qualified. That should be the standard minimum that you want to achieve. Anything below that means that you have a large capital expenditure into an unqualified audience for your products and services, and you need to make sure you start making adjustments to increase the quality scores within your pipeline. Now, this is predominantly because our sales department only pitches opportunities that meet our minimum qualifications, right? We discussed this. Now, other factors that can influence low pitch rates are people that reschedule appointments. Now, someone could show up to the call that counts as a call taken. However, they rescheduled while they were on that call, so it wasn't a call completed, right? So in that instance, you can choose whether or not your team tracks that as a call taken or a reschedule, and then that reschedule is just deducted from your calls taken. That will help you actually get a true measure of your quality because you're only tracking on people who are able to complete discovery for the call taken metric. With that in mind, sales and marketing synergy is always a topic of tension. In any business that runs where you have a marketing department and a sales department and both are separated from one another, meaning it's not like a cross bleed where there's multiple people wearing the same hats, then marketing will always blame sales and sales will always blame marketing. Sales will say, well, marketing's not giving us enough opportunities. And marketing will say, sales team's not closing enough opportunities, so I can't spend more to increase the volume, right? Therefore, the best solution that we've been able to implement within our company to combat this and subsequently increase our volume of quality appointments for our sales team is implementing a feedback loop system in tandem with our lead scoring mechanisms to measure lead quality effectively. Now, our lead scoring mechanisms, on one hand, using the Albert AI lead scoring process, is giving us a marketing definition of a sales qualified prospect. And that score helps us measure our marketing effective rate. Then you can take your sales influence to identify how they interpret the quality of a prospect after having a human-to-human discussion and making sure that person is a good fit. Let's face it, people will lie on applications. They will give you the information you want to hear. For instance, if they went through your funnel one time and you disqualified them automatically, they really want to book an appointment with you, they'll come back through and be like, oh, let's just say I make more money and let's see if that lets me through. And they'll get on your calendar. We have people do this daily. So from that essence, you want to make sure that you have both feedback loop systems working in tandem with one another to get a true measurement of your lead quality. So the final components that we have implemented is our lead scoring system and then the feedback loop that our sales team provides. When our sales team takes a sales call at Conversionly, they fill out a sales call form. That sales call form is essentially a form of information with respect to the prospect that sales member just met with and closes the gap on the remainder of the information that we need to know to enrich the profile for that prospect. What were their problems? What were their pains? What was their prospect quality score, among other things? Now, in that, our prospect quality is essentially a custom field that we set up in our Conversionly CRM. And this is our sales rep's way to tell us exactly, hey, I just pitched this person. This is the quality of them. Okay. And in that, you have options. We have a score from 1 through 5. And we actually type out explanations of this because human error and their own internal rating system, if you don't give them a definition of what each score means, then their interpretation may be different than yours. So we spell it out for them. A 1, not sure how this person got on my calendar. Absolutely terrible. Number 2, meh. It's going to be tough to close people if we have more calls like this. Number 3, hey, this person's not bad. They're not good, but it's not ideal. Okay. Number 4, solid prospect. I can close this guy. They're not like the best person ever, but I can definitely close this. I can work with prospects like this. Like I can close deals like this consistently. Number 5, this person is perfect. If you give me 10 more of this, I'm going to be a millionaire, right? The absolute best of the best. Now, this gives our team a way to essentially tie that gap from marketing to sales and get a true measure of the people we're getting on the call with. How do they actually stack up? As you can see here, our sales team measured this prospect as a 4. They're a solid prospect, not 100% ideal, but I can close this type of person. Now with this, I can correlate this with our attribution tracking and know exactly where we generated this appointment and how they got on our calendar, because we have attribution. What ad did they come from? What is their source? What audience did they come from? What campaign did they come from? And then when they booked their appointment, how did they book their appointment? They came from a setter text message, meaning our setters booked this appointment through a text message process and then shared a link with them. And then who was that appointment setter? That gives us the ability to then identify how is our setter qualifying prospects, and is the sales team saying, hey, this person's on my calendar, they're a 2. I can look at that and see, okay, I have one setter that's booking a lot of 2s. Maybe I need to retrain them on our discovery and sales qualification process. In the other format, if I have a setter that's only booking 4s and 5s and 3s aren't getting on there, then maybe they're missing some opportunities that have potential that otherwise they wouldn't even know because they're not giving those potential. So I want to start seeing where's that gap. You should have a majority of people are a 4, a few 5s and a few 3s mixed with each setter's appointments that they're booking. This gives you a good mix to make sure that your sales team's meeting with as many opportunities as possible and making sure that they are getting the right people on the phone with your sales team. Now, let's say your sales team's already taking 6-7 calls a day and they're booked out and you can't scale anymore because you don't have enough calendar bandwidth, but you know you're meeting with a lot of 3s. Remove them from the opportunities, okay? This is where you lever that threshold, level up that threshold in which somebody can get on your calendar. And that, my friend, wraps up our training on how to increase your lead quality to maximize your calendar with the highest qualified prospects that are ready to buy. Again, in summary, the first thing you want to do is make sure you identify the difference between a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead. The way you identify a sales qualified lead is building out your BANT processes, budget, ability to make the decision, has a need for your problem to solve, and then a timeline to move forward, and you build out your lead qualification matrix. Once you have your lead qualification matrix in place, you will then give yourself the ability to start solving lead quality problems. First place to start is with traffic. Make sure you're targeting the right audience with whatever traffic source you are choosing. Next, make sure you have message market match. Your copy, your creative, everything is directly aligned with the ICP, ideal customer profile, target avatar that you're trying to reach, and the product and services that you're selling, the problems that you're solving, the solutions you provide, etc. From there, you will want to make sure you are incorporating the appropriate level of friction. Caveat, make sure you are not inducing too much friction too fast. Implement a stage of friction, measure your performance, measure your KPIs, and make sure you are optimizing your KPI to get back within a scalable KPI before you induce the next level of friction. What I mean by that, in summary, is if your KPI for appointment is $250 and you implement a stage of friction and your cost per appointment shoots up to $370, you want to optimize your funnel to bring that cost per appointment back down below $250 before you induce the next stage of friction. If you are unable to successfully do that, you need to revert back to the previous friction stage and then optimize or induce quality via another mechanism or restructure that phase of friction. For instance, if you added in an application, restructure your questions, reduce the number of questions, ask the questions a different way. And the way you do that, you implement it one by one, implement the least amount of questions you need to qualify before adding in 8, 9, 11 questions. Those are ways to optimize your KPI back within a scalable KPI result. Next, you want to make sure that you are incorporating a discovery process for prospects that scored as a red on your lead qualification matrix, and also prospects that opted in but did not go on to self-book their appointment, following an engage, qualify, and convert process. If you want to learn more about that, go ahead and book an appointment with our sales team and see how we can induce the lead to close system for your business to help you book more qualified prospects that are ready to buy your services and build it within a scalable client acquisition system. Lastly, you want to incorporate a lead scoring mechanism and a tracking process to create feedback loops that allow you to measure the quality of your prospects that are booking appointments on your calendar. This also gives you a way to measure the success of your setters to identify, are they booking unqualified people? Are they only booking like maximum quality people? That way you can tether their training respectively to get the highest output and the highest quality prospect at the lowest cost possible. And that, my friends, is the total summation of how at Conversionly we're able to book qualified appointments within KPI to scale your client acquisition systems predictably. Without further ado, hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for joining us in this training.